Commander Jake Morrison walked across the bridge of the UES Liberty and looked at the stars through the main window. 300 years had passed since humans first met other species among the stars. The Galactic Defense Alliance had 12 different alien races working together with humans to keep peace in the galaxy. Jake felt proud when he remembered how far humanity had come from their small blue planet Earth. The bridge was busy as usual. Human and alien crew members worked side by side at their stations. Lieutenant Amy Wells sat at the communication desk talking with Zephyrian ships in the next sector. The Zephyrians had blue skin and 3 eyes, but they were good friends to humans. They had helped Earth build its first space stations 50 years ago. Amy suddenly looked worried. She pressed buttons on her console and spoke into her headset. Then she turned to Jake with fear in her eyes. "Commander, I cannot reach the Zephyrian fleet anymore. They just stopped talking to us." All their ships went quiet at the same time. Jake walked over to Amy's station and looked at the screen. The display showed nothing but empty static where friendly alien signals used to be. "Try the Chronari battle group," Jake said. The Chronari were tall warriors with silver skin who had fought beside humans in many battles. Amy tried to contact them but got the same result. Static. Nothing. The Chronari ships were not answering either. Jake felt something cold in his stomach. 2 different alien fleets going silent was not normal. Captain Lisa Brooks came onto the bridge from her ready room. She had been reading reports from human colonies on the outer edge of space. Her face was pale and her hands shook a little. "Jake, we have a big problem. I just got emergency messages from 15 human worlds. Every alien ship near them has left. The aliens took all their people and equipment and went away without saying anything." Jake could not believe what he was hearing. "All of them?" "All of them," Lisa said. "The Mantari trading ships, the Vorgan science vessels, even the Helix medical teams. They all left at exactly the same time. Our colonists are alone out there." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone stopped working and listened. Amy kept trying to contact alien ships but found nothing. The communication officer from the night shift came running onto the bridge with a data pad in his hands. "Captain Brooks, Admiral Pete Carter needs to talk to you right now. He says it is urgent." Lisa took the call on the main screen. Admiral Carter looked old and tired. His gray hair was messy and his uniform was wrinkled like he had not slept. Behind him, Jake could see the command center of Earth Defense Command. People were running around and alarms were flashing. "Lisa, I need you to listen carefully," the Admiral said. "Every human ship needs to return to Earth space immediately. We just received a message from the Galactic Council. All 12 alien species have voted to remove humans from the galaxy." Jake felt like someone had hit him in the chest. "Remove us? What does that mean?" Admiral Carter looked directly at Jake through the screen. "It means they want to kill every human alive." The message was clear. Humanity is too dangerous to exist. They plan to destroy all human worlds and ships. The vote was 12-0 against us. Lisa sat down in her captain's chair. Her face was white as paper. "How long do we have?" "Their fleets are already moving. Our scouts report massive alien armadas heading toward human space from all directions. We estimate they will reach our outer colonies in 3 days. Earth itself will be under attack in 1 week." The bridge was completely silent now. Jake looked around at his crew. Some of them had alien friends they had worked with for years. Others had served on mixed ships where humans and aliens were like family. Now those same aliens wanted them. All dead. Amy spoke in a whisper. "Why? What did we do wrong?" Admiral Carter heard her question. "The council message said humans adapt too fast. They said we learn new things too quickly and change too much. They think we will become too powerful and take over the galaxy someday, so they decided to stop us now. Jake walked to the window and looked out at the stars again. Those same stars that had welcomed humanity 3 centuries ago now held enemies who wanted to wipe them out. Every point of light could hide alien ships coming to destroy his people. "Admiral, what are your orders?" Captain Brooks asked. "Bring every human ship home to Earth. Evacuate the outer colonies if you can. Gather our fleets and prepare for war. We are going to fight." The screen went dark. Jake turned back to his crew. They were all looking at him and Lisa, waiting for orders. These people trusted him to keep them safe, but he did not know how they could survive against 12 alien species working together. "Amy, send the recall signal to all human ships in this sector," Lisa ordered. "Tell them to head for Earth at maximum speed. Jake, plot a course for home." As the UE's Liberty turned toward Earth, Jake wondered if they would ever see their home planet again. Humanity was alone among the stars now, and the stars wanted them dead. Dr. Helen Foster had not slept for 36 hours. She sat in her lab on the science ship UES Discovery, surrounded by computer screens showing alien message codes. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she kept drinking it anyway. The data she was looking at made her feel sick to her stomach. Helen was the best language expert in the human fleet. She could understand and translate messages from any of the 12 alien species. For the past 2 days, she had been working to break into secret alien communications that Earth Defense had captured. What she found was worse than anyone had. Imagine the messages went back 50 years. 50 years of the Galactic Council secretly planning to destroy humanity. Helen read through thousands of coded transmissions between alien commanders. They had been watching human military tactics, studying how humans fought, learning every trick and strategy that made human forces effective. A message from the Zephyrian High Command made Helen's hands shake as she read it. Human combat patterns are now fully cataloged. Their tendency to use unconventional tactics has been documented. All fleet commanders have received copies of human battle strategies. When the cleansing protocol begins, we will use their own methods against them. Helen grabbed her communication device and called the bridge. "Captain Brooks, I need to talk to you right now. It is about the alien betrayal. They have been planning this for decades." While Helen worked in her lab, Major Tom Bradley was fighting for his life on Colony 7. The small farming world had been home to 50,000 humans and about 500 alien residents. Tom had been the colony's defense coordinator, working with Zephyrian security forces to protect the settlement. Now those same Zephyrian ships were firing on the colony from orbit. Tom watched through his binoculars as energy beams destroyed the wheat farms where his children used to play. The aliens were using human-designed attack patterns, the same ones Tom had taught them during joint training exercises. "All civilian shelters, this is Major Bradley," Tom spoke into his radio. "The evacuation ships will arrive in 2 hours. Keep your heads down and stay in the underground bunkers until I give the all-clear signal." Tom's small defense force had 12 human fighters and some old mining equipment they had turned into weapons. Against 3 Zephyrian warships, they should have had no chance. But Tom noticed something strange about how the aliens were attacking. Zephyrian ships followed the exact same attack pattern that human forces used against fixed targets. They came in at the same angle, fired at the same targets in the same order, and retreated at the same speed. Tom had written that attack plan himself 5 years ago during a joint training exercise. "They are fighting like robots," Tom said to his sergeant. "They learned our tactics, but they do not understand why we use them." Tom ordered his fighters to do something no human commander would ever do in that situation. Instead of following standard defensive procedures, he told his people to attack. 12 fighters with light, Weapons charged straight at 3 warships. The Zephyrian commanders had studied human defensive tactics, but they had never seen humans abandon all logic and attack when they should retreat. Tom's crazy charge confused them long enough for the evacuation ships to land and start loading civilians. On the U's Valor, engineer Kyle Murphy was crawling through maintenance tunnels looking for bombs. 3 alien crew members who had served on human ships for 20 years had planted explosive devices throughout the vessel. Kyle found quantum charges attached to the engine core, the life support systems, and the main computer. Kyle had worked with these aliens every day. He had eaten meals with them, played games with them, and considered them friends. The Helix engineer named Zek had helped Kyle fix the ship's engines just last week. Now Kyle was holding a bomb that Zek had hidden in the very same engine room. Each explosive device was set to go off at the same time. If Kyle had not been doing a routine inspection, the charges would have destroyed the ship and killed everyone on board. Kyle wondered how many other human ships had bombs hidden inside them. Kyle's hands were steady as he carefully removed each explosive device. He had defused bombs before during the war with the Outer Rim pirates. But those pirates had been strangers who hated humans. These bombs came from aliens who had shared their food and told stories about their families. Commander Sarah Davis was in the Intelligence Center of Earth Defense Command, reading reports that made her feel cold inside. The betrayal was not just about the Galactic Council's vote to destroy humanity. It was much deeper and more carefully planned than anyone had realized. Sarah had evidence that alien spies had been gathering information about human colonies, military bases, and defense systems for generations. The aliens knew exactly where every human settlement was located. They had detailed maps of human trade routes, supply lines, and communication networks. The worst part was that humans had given them this information freely. Every time humans shared scientific data with their alien allies, every time they worked together on joint projects, every time they trusted their alien friends with important information, they had been helping their enemies plan their destruction. Sarah looked at a report about alien sleeper agents. These were aliens who had lived in human space for years, pretending to be friends while secretly sending information back to their home worlds. Some of them had human families. Some had human children who did not know their alien parent was a spy. The intelligence files showed that the alien plan had 3 parts. First, they would remove all alien personnel from human space to keep them safe. Second, they would use the information they had gathered to attack human colonies and ships with maximum effectiveness. Third, they would use human tactics and strategies against human forces to make the war quick and decisive. Sarah sent an emergency message to Admiral Carter. "Sir, the aliens have been planning this betrayal for 50 years. They know everything about our defenses. They have studied our tactics, and they have spies everywhere. We are not just outnumbered. We are fighting an enemy that knows all our secrets." As reports came in from across human space, the picture became clear. Humanity was facing not just 12 alien species working together, but 12 species who had spent decades learning how to destroy them. The aliens had used human trust and friendship as weapons to gather the information they needed to win the war before it even started. But they had made one mistake. They had studied human tactics and strategies, but they had not understood what made humans truly dangerous. They had learned how humans fought, but they had not learned why humans never gave up. Chief Engineer Rachel Stone had not left the orbital shipyards above Earth for 3 days. She moved from one construction bay to another, watching teams of workers turn civilian ships into weapons of war. Rachel had always been good at seeing things differently than other people. Where others saw problems, she saw solutions. The mining ship Golden Harvest was designed to crack asteroids and collect metal ore. Rachel looked at its massive drilling equipment and saw something else entirely. "Remove the ore processors and replace them with missile launchers," she told her team. "Use the drilling lasers as point defense weapons. This mining ship is now a heavy cruiser." Her workers thought she was crazy at first. No one had ever tried to turn a mining vessel into a warship before. The Golden Harvest was not built for combat. It was slow and heavy, with thick armor designed to protect miners from asteroid impacts. But Rachel knew that thick armor was exactly what they needed against alien energy weapons. The passenger liner, Star Princess, carried tourists between Earth and the outer colonies. Rachel saw its large cargo bays and had an idea. "Fill those bays with fighter craft," she ordered. "Turn the passenger decks into barracks for pilots. We just built ourselves an aircraft carrier." Rachel's teams worked around the clock, welding metal plates onto civilian ships and installing weapons wherever they could fit them. The aliens expected to fight against official human warships. They would not expect to face a garbage hauler, armed with plasma cannons, or a food transport ship carrying nuclear missiles. Lieutenant Commander Ben Rogers was in the fighter bay of the UES Defiance, talking to pilots who had never flown in real combat before. Most of them were civilian pilots who flew cargo ships or passenger shuttles. Some were just kids who had learned to fly in simulators. Ben had been a fighter pilot for 15 years. He had fought pirates and smugglers, but never in a full-scale war. The alien fleets heading toward Earth outnumbered human fighters by 100 to 1. Standard fighter tactics would get them all killed in the first 10 minutes of battle. "Forget everything you learned in flight school," Ben told his pilots. "The aliens have studied our textbook fighting methods. If we fly like they expect us to fly, we will lose. So we are going to fly like crazy people instead." Ben showed his pilots how to use asteroid fields as cover, diving between floating rocks at speeds that would make alien pilots think they were insane. He taught them to use their ship's exhaust flames as weapons, burning enemy fighters that got too close. He showed them how to ram larger ships and survive by hitting them at exactly the right angle. The young pilots listened carefully as Ben explained tactics that violated every rule of space combat. "Alien pilots are trained to avoid collisions," Ben said. "They think crashing into things is always bad. But we humans know that sometimes you have to break your own ship to break theirs." Dr. Maria Santos made the discovery that changed everything while working in her computer lab deep inside Earth Defense Command. She was trying to find ways to make human computers work faster when she noticed something strange about her own brain patterns. Maria had always been able to solve math problems very quickly. She could look at complex equations and see the answers in her mind without having to work through all the steps. When she connected her brain to a quantum computer, something amazing happened. The computer's processing speed increased by a factor of 50. Maria's human brain was somehow making the alien-designed quantum systems work better than they were supposed to work. She ran the test again and got the same result. Human minds could interface with quantum computers in ways that alien minds could not. Maria called her research team together and had them all try the same experiment. Every human who connected to the quantum computers made them work faster and more efficiently. The effect was strongest in humans who were good at creative thinking and solving problems in unusual ways. This is why the aliens are afraid of us. Maria realized our brains work differently than theirs. We can use their own technology better than they can. Maria began designing a new type of computer system that would give human ships and weapons a huge advantage in battle. If human commanders could process battle information 50 times faster than alien commanders, they could make tactical decisions that would seem impossible to their enemies. General Rick Thompson sat in the war room at Earth Defense Command. looking at a map of human space that showed red arrows pointing toward every human world. 11 alien fleets were converging on human territory from all directions. The outer colonies would be hit first, then the inner worlds, and finally Earth itself. Rick had been a soldier for 30 years. He had fought in ground wars on hostile planets and space battles near distant stars. He knew that sometimes the only way to win a war was to lose a lot of battles first. "We are going to let them have the outer colonies," Rick announced to his staff. The other generals looked at him like he had lost his mind. "Sir, there are millions of humans on those worlds," one of them said. Rick pointed to the map. "If we try to defend every colony, we will spread our forces too thin and lose everything. But if we evacuate the outer worlds and fall back to defensive positions, we can make the aliens fight for every system. Each battle will cost them ships and give us time to prepare for the next one." The strategy Rick proposed was called defense in depth. It meant giving up territory to buy time and resources. Human forces would retreat from one system to the next, fighting delaying actions that would slow down the alien advance and force them to use up ammunition and fuel. Most military commanders would never consider abandoning populated worlds to enemy forces. But Rick understood something about humans that the aliens did not. Humans could rebuild destroyed cities and reclaim lost territory. What they could not do was fight effectively if their entire fleet was destroyed in the first battle. As the first alien scouts entered human space, they found something they did not expect. The outer colonies were empty. The humans had evacuated millions of people in just 3 days, moving them to safer worlds closer to Earth. The aliens had planned to destroy human colonies full of civilians, but they found nothing but empty buildings and abandoned equipment. The alien commanders were confused. Their intelligence report said humans would fight desperately to defend every settlement. Instead, the humans had given up valuable territory without firing a shot. The aliens had studied human tactics for 50 years, but they had never seen humans retreat before a battle even started. As the UES Liberty and other human ships reached Earth's solar system, they found a scene of incredible activity. The orbital shipyards were working at maximum capacity, turning out new weapons and converting civilian vessels into warships. Fighter squadrons practiced new combat maneuvers that would have been considered impossible just weeks before. Commander Jake Morrison looked out at the improvised fleet gathering around Earth and felt something he had not expected. Despite being outnumbered and betrayed by their allies, despite facing extinction at the hands of 11 alien species, Jake felt hope. Humanity was doing what it did best. They were adapting, improvising, and finding ways to turn their weaknesses into strengths. The aliens thought they knew everything about human warfare. They were about to learn that humans were most dangerous when they had nothing left to lose. Admiral Claire Johnson stood on the command deck of the USS Washington and watched through the viewscreen as the alien armada approached Neptune. The enemy fleet was massive beyond imagination. 3,000 ships from 11 different species moved in perfect formation toward the human defensive positions around Neptune's orbital platforms. Claire commanded only 300 human vessels. Most of them were converted civilian ships with improvised weapons and untrained crews. Against any reasonable military analysis, her fleet should have been destroyed in the first hour of battle. But Claire had learned something important during her 40 years in space. Reasonable military analysis often ignored the most important factor in any war: the determination of the people doing the fighting. The human defensive plan was simple and insane. Instead of forming traditional battle lines, Claire's ships were scattered throughout Neptune's gravity well. Some were hidden behind the planet's moons. Others were positioned near the rings where sensor readings would be confused by ice and rock debris. "All ships, this is Admiral Johnson," Claire spoke into her communication system. "Remember what we practiced. Do not try to fight them ship to ship. Use Neptune itself as your weapon. Make them come to us and make them pay for every kilometer." They advance. Captain Steve Adams received his orders aboard the converted mining ship UES Boulder. His vessel was one of 20 mining ships that had been hastily equipped with weapons and assigned to the most dangerous part of the battle plan. Steve's job was to ram the enemy flagship. The Vardonian dreadnought Eternal Glory was the size of a small city. It carried enough firepower to destroy an entire planet and was protected by energy shields that could deflect nuclear weapons. The ship was considered indestructible by conventional military thinking. But Steve's mining ship was not a conventional weapon. "Engineering, give me everything the engines have," Steve ordered. "I need maximum speed, and I need it now." The UES Boulder had been designed to push asteroids around, not fight in space battles. But Steve knew that mass times velocity equals force, and his ship had plenty of mass. The Boulder accelerated toward the Vardonian dreadnought, like a bullet fired from the largest gun in the solar system. The Vardonian commander saw the human ship approaching and ordered his gunners to destroy it. Energy beams and missile salvos struck the Boulder's heavy mining armor but could not stop its charge. Steve's ship was built to survive collisions with asteroids. A few alien weapons were not going to slow it down. The impact when the Boulder struck the Eternal Glory was visible from Neptune's surface. The mining ship's reinforced hull punched through the dreadnought's shields and armor like a spear through paper. Both ships were destroyed in the collision, but Steve's sacrifice created a gap in the alien formation that smaller human ships could exploit. Communications. Officer Linda Parker was working frantically at her station on the command ship, coordinating resistance efforts across human space. Linda had developed a galaxy-wide network of hidden communication relays that allowed human forces to stay in contact even when alien jamming tried to isolate them. The most important part of Linda's job was not sending tactical information or battle orders. It was keeping hope alive. Every human colony, every refugee ship, every hidden base received regular updates from the Neptune battle. When people heard that Admiral Johnson's impossible plan was actually working, they found the courage to keep fighting. Colony Base 7. "This is Earth Command," Linda transmitted to a human settlement that was surrounded by alien forces. "The fleet at Neptune has destroyed 12 enemy ships and captured 2 more. Hold your position and continue resistance operations. Help is coming." Linda knew that help might never actually arrive at Colony Base 7. But she also knew that people who believed rescue was possible would fight longer and harder than people who thought they were doomed. Hope was a weapon that could not be destroyed by alien guns or defeated by superior numbers. Fighter pilot Lieutenant Danny Clark was having the time of his life, which was strange because he was probably going to die in the next few minutes. Danny flew a converted racing ship that was faster than any military fighter but had almost no weapons or armor. His job was to confuse and distract enemy pilots while the heavier human ships attacked their targets. Danny dove his ship through a formation of Chronari fighters, flying between them so fast that their targeting computers could not lock onto him. The alien pilots tried to follow him but crashed into each other instead. Danny laughed as he pulled his ship into a turn that would have knocked out most pilots. "You have to catch me first," Danny said over the radio as 3 more alien fighters chased him into Neptune's ring system. The rings were full of ice chunks and metal debris that made flying through them extremely dangerous. Most pilots would never attempt to navigate the rings during combat. Danny was not most pilots. He had grown up racing ships through asteroid fields for fun. Flying through Neptune's rings while being shot at was actually easier than some of the races he had won as a teenager. The alien pilots following him did not know this and tried to match his maneuvers. two of the alien fighters collided with ring debris and exploded. The third one gave up the chase and retreated to rejoin the main alien formation. Danny had eliminated 3 enemy fighters without firing a single shot. As the battle continued, the alien commanders began to realize that something was wrong with their careful plans. Human ships were not fighting according to the tactical manuals they had studied. Instead of forming battle lines and exchanging fire at long range, the humans were using crazy tactics that made no sense. Human fighters flew through dangerous areas that should have been impossible to navigate. Human ships rammed alien vessels that were 10 times larger than they were. Human commanders made decisions that violated every rule of space warfare, and somehow these insane tactics were working. The Zephyrian Fleet Admiral contacted the other alien commanders with growing concern. The humans are not fighting the way our intelligence reports predicted. They are using tactics that our analysts never considered. How do we counter strategies that make no logical sense? The alien fleets had overwhelming numerical superiority and superior technology, but they were discovering that these advantages meant nothing against an enemy that refused to fight according to the rules. Every time the aliens adapted to one human tactic, the humans would try something completely different. Admiral Claire Johnson watched the battle displays and saw that her desperate plan was actually succeeding. Human losses were heavy, but alien losses were even heavier. For every human ship destroyed, 2 or 3 alien vessels were taken out of the fight. The Battle of Neptune became the moment when the galaxy learned that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their numbers. It was their absolute refusal to accept defeat and their ability to find new solutions when old ones failed. As the first day of battle ended, the alien armada had lost over 400 ships while destroying only 150 human vessels. The humans were still outnumbered, but the gap was closing. More importantly, human morale was rising while alien confidence was beginning to crack. The aliens had expected to face a desperate but ultimately hopeless human defense. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that grew more dangerous. As the battle continued, an enemy that turned every disadvantage into an opportunity and every defeat into a lesson for the next engagement. Commander Alex Turner crouched behind the twisted remains of a Helix supply ship, watching alien cargo vessels move through the Proxima system. For 3 weeks, Alex had been leading hit-and-run attacks on enemy supply lines using captured alien technology. His small fleet of 12 ships had destroyed over 50 alien transports and convinced the enemy that human forces in the area were much larger than they actually were. The key to Alex's success was using alien weapons in ways their creators never intended. The Helix had designed their plasma cannons to fire in short, controlled bursts that conserved energy and prevented overheating. Alex's engineers had modified the weapons to fire continuous streams of plasma that could cut through ship hulls like butter. The weapons burned out after a few minutes of use, but that was long enough to destroy an enemy transport and escape before reinforcements arrived. "Target the fuel depot first," Alex told his weapons officer. "Then hit the food supplies. Make them hungry and stranded." Alex's ship, the former alien vessel Harmony of Stars, accelerated toward the enemy convoy. The alien captain who had commanded this ship would never have attempted such a direct attack against superior numbers. But Alex was human, and humans had different ideas about acceptable risk. The plasma cannons tore through the alien fuel depot like a hot knife through ice. Secondary explosions destroyed 3 more ships as burning fuel spread through the enemy formation. Alex's ship was already turning away before the aliens realized they were under attack. Dr. Jessica Wright had not slept for 4 days straight, but she was too excited to feel tired. In her laboratory aboard the research station Prometheus, Jessica was putting the finishing touches on humanity's greatest scientific breakthrough. Faster-than-light communication technology. The breakthrough had come when Jessica combined human quantum computer interfaces with captured alien communication equipment. Human brains could process quantum entanglement patterns in ways that allowed instant communication across any distance. What the aliens had never achieved in 1,000 years of research, Jessica had accomplished in 3 weeks by thinking about the problem differently. Test transmission to Alpha Centauri fleet, Jessica said to her assistant. Send tactical update package 7. The response came back instantly. Admiral Carter in the Alpha Centauri system confirmed that he had received the complete tactical update in real time. Information that used to take weeks to travel between star systems could now be transmitted instantly. Jessica's invention meant that human fleets scattered across the galaxy could now fight as one coordinated force. Commanders could share tactical information, coordinate attacks, and respond to enemy movements as if all human ships were in the same star system. Major Chris Taylor was hiding in the ruins of New Kansas City on the occupied world of Kepler-7. The planet had fallen to alien forces 2 weeks ago, but Chris and his team of resistance fighters were making the occupation as difficult as possible for their enemies. Chris had been a military engineer before the war. He knew how to build things and how to destroy them. On Kepler-7, he was teaching ordinary civilians to become guerrilla fighters using whatever materials they could find. Mrs. Patterson, your job is to monitor alien patrol schedules, Chris explained to the former school teacher. Mr. Kim, you used to repair farm equipment, so you will be our explosives expert. Jenny, you know every tunnel and maintenance shaft in this city from your job with the utilities company. You will be our scout. The alien occupation forces were growing frustrated. They had expected to control the human population by conquering their cities and destroying their military bases. Instead, they found that every human civilian was a potential enemy combatant. Chris's resistance network had turned coffee shops into weapons factories, libraries into communication centers, and schools into training camps for guerrilla fighters. The aliens controlled the skies and the major cities, but they could not control the human spirit of resistance. Captain Nicole Green received the liberation order while her fleet was hiding in the asteroid belt near Colony Prime. Nicole commanded 15 ships, mostly converted cargo vessels and mining craft. Her mission was to retake the colony from a Montari occupation force of 30 warships. Nicole's plan was based on something the aliens had never learned to expect from humans: the willingness to sacrifice strategic assets to achieve tactical objectives. Colony Prime's main power plant was located in the center of the capital city. If Nicole could destroy the power plant, the alien defense grid would shut down. But the explosion would also kill thousands of human civilians. Most commanders would never consider such a plan. Nicole spent 3 days looking for alternatives. Before she realized there were none, the civilians trapped on Colony Prime were going to die anyway if the planet remained under alien control. At least this way, their sacrifice would free their world. All ships, this is Captain Green, Nicole transmitted to her small fleet. We are going to do something that will haunt us for the rest of our lives. But we are going to do it because sometimes that is what victory costs. Nicole's ships approached Colony Prime from the system's outer edge, using captured alien identification codes to fool the enemy sensors. The Montari defenders did not realize they were under attack until human ships were already inside the planetary defense perimeter. The converted cargo ship UES Freedom dove toward the power plant at maximum speed, its hull packed with nuclear explosives. The ship's pilot, Lieutenant Bobby Chun, had volunteered for the suicide mission. "Tell my kids I saved their world," Bobby transmitted as his ship struck the power plant. The explosion was visible from orbit. The alien defense grid went dark across the entire planet. Nicole's remaining ship swept down to attack the confused and blinded enemy forces. Within 6 hours, Colony Prime was free. The liberation of Colony Prime sent shockwaves through the alien alliance. The Mantari had considered the planet absolutely secure, protected by the most advanced defense systems in their fleet. The fact that a handful of converted human cargo ships had retaken it in a single day made alien commanders question their assumptions about human capabilities. More importantly, news of the victory spread through the human resistance network faster than the aliens could stop it. Dr. Jessica Wright's new communication system allowed instant coordination between human forces across the galaxy. Every resistance cell, every hidden fleet, every group of civilian fighters learned that the tide of war was turning. Admiral Pete Carter reviewed the tactical situation from his command center and realized that something fundamental had changed. Human forces were no longer fighting separate defensive actions. They were conducting coordinated offensive operations across multiple star systems simultaneously. The aliens had made a critical error in their planning. They had assumed that destroying human communication networks would leave human forces isolated and unable to coordinate their activities. Instead, humanity had developed new communication technology that made their forces more connected than ever before. "Send the general attack order to all human fleets," Admiral Carter commanded. "Operation Starfire begins now." Across the galaxy, human ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields and gas giant rings suddenly emerged and attacked alien supply convoys. Resistance fighters on occupied worlds began coordinated uprisings. Human colonies that the aliens thought were pacified revealed hidden weapons and defense systems. The Galactic Council had voted to exterminate humanity because they feared human adaptability and creativity. They were about to learn that their worst fears had been completely justified. Humanity was not just adapting to survive the alien attacks. They were evolving beyond anything their enemies had imagined possible. The species that had stood alone against the stars was beginning to show the galaxy why being alone had made them stronger, not weaker. Fleet Admiral John Harper stood in the command center of the UES Enterprise and watched the final human armada approach the Galactic Council's stronghold at Nexus Station. 6 months had passed since the aliens first betrayed humanity. Now 300 human warships were about to attack the most heavily defended location in the galaxy. John's fleet was not the same ragtag collection of converted civilian ships that had fought at Neptune. These were purpose-built human warships incorporating technology that surpassed anything the alien species possessed. Human engineers had taken captured alien equipment and improved it beyond recognition, creating weapons and defenses that made their former enemies look primitive. The UES Enterprise itself was proof of human innovation under pressure. Built in just 4 months using salvaged materials and revolutionary design concepts, the massive dreadnought combined the best features of 11 different alien technologies. Its quantum computer core was based on Dr. Maria Santos's breakthrough research, allowing the ship to process battle information faster than any alien vessel could match. "Admiral, we are receiving a surrender offer from the Zephyrian fleet," reported Communications Officer Paul Martinez. "Admiral Kempf wants to negotiate terms." John had known Admiral Kempf for 20 years. They had fought side by side against pirate fleets and shared drinks after successful missions. The betrayal still hurt, but John understood that the Zephyrian commander was trying to save his people from complete destruction. Captain Emma Lewis was handling the surrender negotiations aboard her flagship UES Constitution. Emma had been chosen for this task because she had worked closely with alien forces before the war and understood their cultures and motivations. More importantly, she believed that showing mercy to defeated enemies was what separated humans from the monsters they had been forced to become. Admiral Kent, you and your people fought bravely, Emma said during the video conference with the Zephyrian commander. Your species was wrong to vote for human extinction, but that does not mean we will vote for yours. Surrender your fleet and no more blood needs to be spilled. Admiral Kent's 3 eyes showed relief and confusion. Captain Lewis, why are you offering mercy? We tried to destroy your species. We killed millions of your people. Emma looked directly into the alien commander's eyes. Because mercy is what makes us human. If we become as ruthless as you tried to be, then you will have won even in defeat. The Zephyrian fleet surrendered without firing another shot. Across the galaxy, other alien species were beginning to realize that continued resistance was hopeless. Human forces had grown stronger during every battle while alien forces had grown weaker. The species that was supposed to be exterminated was now dictating terms to its would-be exterminators. Dr. Kevin Ross was working on the most important document in galactic history, the new Galactic Accords. Kevin had been a diplomat before the war, specializing in interspecies relations and conflict resolution. The old Galactic Council had failed because it allowed fear and prejudice to override justice and cooperation. The new framework Kevin was designing would prevent any single species or group of species from declaring war on another without just cause. More importantly, it would guarantee that decisions affecting the entire galaxy would be made through open debate and democratic voting, not secret conspiracies and backroom deals. The fundamental principle must be diversity of thought, Kevin explained to his team of human and alien legal experts. The galaxy needs different species with different perspectives and different approaches to problems. Homogeneity breeds stagnation. Diversity breeds innovation. Several alien species had already requested to join the new galactic government being formed under human leadership. They had seen what happened to species that opposed humanity and what happened to species that cooperated with human forces. The choice was obvious. President Patricia Hall prepared to address the reformed Galactic Assembly from the rebuilt council chamber on Earth. Patricia had been a senator before the war, but the crisis had transformed her into a leader whose words carried weight throughout the galaxy. She would be speaking not just as the leader of humanity, but as the voice of a new galactic order. Citizens of the galaxy, Patricia began, her voice being transmitted to 1 billion worlds across known space. 6 months ago, 12 species voted to exterminate humanity because they feared what we might become. Today I want to tell you what we have become. Patricia gestured to the assembly hall where human and alien delegates sat together. Representatives from 7 alien species had already joined the new galactic government. 3 more species had requested membership and were under consideration. We have become a species that chooses forgiveness over revenge. We have become a people who offer cooperation instead of conquest. We have shown that strength without wisdom is meaningless, and that true power comes from lifting others up rather than tearing them down. The audience listened in silence as Patricia continued. The old Galactic Council failed because it was built on fear and distrust. The new Galactic Federation will succeed because it is built on hope and mutual respect. We invite every species in the galaxy to join us, not as subjects or servants, but as equal partners in building a better future. Admiral John Harper received reports from across the galaxy showing the results of humanity's victory. Human technology was being shared freely with alien species, improving their quality of life and advancing their scientific knowledge. Human medical teams were treating alien civilians who had been injured during the war. Human engineers were helping to rebuild alien worlds that had been damaged during the fighting. The galaxy had expected humans to become conquerors after their military victory. Instead, humans had become teachers, healers, and builders. The species that had been marked for extinction was now leading efforts to create peace and prosperity for everyone. Commander Jake Morrison, now promoted to admiral, stood once again on the bridge of the U.S. Liberty and looked out at the stars. The view was the same as it had been 6 months ago, but everything else had changed. Those stars no longer held enemies waiting to destroy humanity. They held friends and allies working together to explore the universe and unlock its secrets. Thought about the journey that had brought humanity to this point. They had started as junior partners in the Galactic Defense Alliance, grateful to be accepted among the stars. They had been betrayed by species they trusted and marked for extinction by people they considered friends. But instead of being destroyed by hatred and fear, humanity had grown stronger. They had learned that true strength came not from the ability to destroy enemies, but from the courage to forgive them. They had discovered that the greatest victories were won not on battlefields, but in the hearts and minds of people who chose hope over despair. The day humanity stood alone against the stars had become the day they proved they deserved a place among them. The young species from Earth had faced the ultimate test and emerged not as conquerors, but as leaders who showed the galaxy a better way to live. As the U.S. Liberty set course for the Andromeda Galaxy, where new worlds and new challenges awaited, Jake knew that humanity's greatest adventures were still ahead of them. They had learned to stand alone when necessary, but they had also learned that the universe was always better when people stood together. The stars that had once threatened to destroy humanity now beckoned them forward into a future bright with possibility and hope. And humanity, no longer alone, reached out to embrace that future with open arms and willing hearts.